did not hold on to our running back, and that was a similar situation to our cornerbacks. Ty Montgomery, who was a wide receiver, stepped in to be a running back, and he did extremely well. I feel like they still want Ty Montgomery to be a wide receiver. So my best option, and hopefully it will happen, is we get Christian McCaffrey, because his talent, his speed, his overall attitude towards the game has impressed me so much that I want him on our team. That's my opinion. Probably won't happen, but I can dream.
Sure. No, and again, as you mentioned, we know what happened in the playoffs against the Giants, what that did. I just think a corner is probably most reasonable, I would say. As you mentioned, that's one of the hardest positions to keep healthy and to keep depth at. And in the NFL, considering that it's become more of a pass-happy league, you're going to need that kind of depth and ability. Again, at the even down from the starter, maybe to even the 3-4 spot, depending how many receiver sets to come out every play. So I think that's a huge asset, and I think that would be great for the Pack-a-Net for moving forward, getting in the playoffs, and of course in the game against the Falcons as well. So, I mean, for the Bills, you have a couple options. You can go with the safety, which again is a huge help on the back end for us. It's corners and safeties. Jamal Adams from LSU is probably a prospect. For wide receivers, Sammy Watkins hasn't been the most healthy receiver. We lost Goodwin in the offseason. Robert Woods is now in LA. So, where's the depth there? Mike Williams, another Clemson wide receiver, he showed what he could do coming off the injury season 2 seasons ago to perform well last season. Cam Robinson, you have from Alabama. The offensive tackle, the offensive line could always use some help. There were some injuries across there, so there were some inconsistencies in that. And then, of course, Mitch Trubisky is another potential prospect that they're looking at number 10, the quarterback from North Carolina. If he drops that far, I don't project him to go that far. But again, if he's still available, I don't be surprised if the Bills get him at 10. Tommy, I don't know about you, but I was looking through the first round here. There are a couple cool names here. I don't know. Do you have any cool names that you see on here? Because I have at least 2 that I see that look really cool names. Because I remember...
I need to go back. My computer is freezing. Okay, you say yours, and I'll try and get mine back up.
That's okay. Taco Charlton. How cool? Taco Charlton, the defensive end from Michigan. He's projected in the top 10 right now, or at least top 15. And then I'll give you the other one, Tommy, if you can't pull it up. Takarist McKinley. Takarist McKinley, another defensive end out of UCLA. That's a pretty cool name to have. David Njoku, I think that's a pretty cool name to look at. And, of course, one name that you're going to recognize based off the last name, T.J. Watt, the outside linebacker out of Wisconsin, who, of course, is J.J. Watt's little brother. Maybe wouldn't say little because, of course, he's a little bigger guy. But those are a couple cool names I'd see there. And I'm always excited to see, the different names in there just because I think a couple years ago, you had a couple cool names in the draft. And, when I did the podcast with Brett, we always would figure out who the coolest names were. But so I'm excited to hear those names come up. And again, for these guys that are 19, 20, 21 years old. They're going to make so much money, playing a sport, and that's pretty cool. So for them, I think I'd say enjoy the moment, regardless of where they go, and just make sure that you perform well. It's a different set of expectations and different set of responsibilities, I think. So that's what I would expect from the draft. So one more topic, of course, before we go to the break, in terms of NFL and quarterbacks. Tony Romo retired. It's not a topic that we covered last week on the podcast, just because we had so many other topics. But now that it's not, again, it's a topic, but it's not as big of a topic. Tommy, again, he performed well over the course of 10 seasons, although last season he didn't play that much. Over the course of his career, here's his stats. Just going to read them off here for you. 34,000 yards, 248 touchdowns, 117 picks, QB rating of 97.1, completion percentage of 65%. I believe only one playoff win in his career, and nothing much beyond that. So based off those statistics, where does that put him amongst greats in Cowboy history, and is he at all considered for the Hall of Fame, Tom?
Well, this is definitely going to be hard. he did win the Walter Payton Award in 2002, and he did well in the NFL. Better than most quarterbacks, especially since the longevity that he's had with the Cowboys and how Jerry Jones always believed in him. It's ranking Troy Aikman and Tony Romo. I see Troy Aikman a little bit above Tony Romo only because of the championships. If Tony Romo at least won one trophy, I think he'd be above Troy Aikman. But Troy Aikman had his assets also. Emmitt Smith, Deshaun, I don't know why I'm forgetting his name. Just the assets that Troy Aikman had compared to Tony Romo, there is definitely a huge space. So Tony Romo did work well with who he had. He had Terrell Owens at one point. He had Dez Bryant.
Jason Witten, instant Hall of Famer, I would suspect. Tony Romo, I do expect him to be in the Hall of Fame, definitely in the Dallas Hall of Fame, but it might take more than a first ballot. But his career, definitely one of the best for any quarterbacks out there. But it's just going to be a little bit challenging getting into the Hall of Fame. So. Yeah, I think that one of the biggest issues is his playoff appearances. He only had a couple of them, and a lot of them were first-round exits. Whether it be in the one in 2006 where he botched the snap against Seattle, or in 2007 that next year just didn't look what they bounced in the first round or the divisional round, and then 2009 had a couple of appearances there, but just couldn't knock on the door to the Super Bowl. But I would agree, Tommy, that if he won one, that he could potentially be better than Aikman, considering the talent that was around him at that time, considering, you have Emmitt Smith, considering you have Michael Irvin, you have a lot of talent on the offensive line. Larry Allen, one of the best offensive tackles of all time. And their defense Deion Sanders. Yeah, you had so much talent on that team. It just wasn't, it seems like I'm not taking anything away from Troy Aikman. I think he was phenomenal with the way he managed the game, but I think you put Tony Romo in that position and they would have excelled maybe a little bit better in some aspects just because of his ability to throw the ball. Again, it was a different league back then, but again, I just think Tony Romo's assets could have been worked well in any era. Obviously, you have Roger Staubach as well to consider when it comes to quarterbacks in Cowboy history as well. So I mean, again, Tony Romo, I would say in terms of all-time QBs for the Cowboys, he'd be in the top three easily behind Staubach and Aikman. I agree. The Cowboy Hall of Fame, it's no question, and it was a nice gesture for the Mavericks a couple weeks ago for them to dress and be introduced, and again, being the Dallas Cowboys quarterback is one of the most scrutinizing positions in all of sports, I think. And for the last 10 years, he just, whether he did good or bad, the bad was always more magnified than the good. And so I think that's the legacy that he's going to leave with for a little bit. But I think when you look back, you wait 10 years, you look back at this whole career, the comebacks that he led, and again, the overall QB rating of 97-1, it's pretty impressive to keep. So, and considering the change in personnel and receiver over the course of the years, he didn't have the best receivers for a long time. He just got Dez Bryant, and of course, he didn't get to play with Ezekiel Elliott this season. But if he had played with him, I think his numbers would have been well had he stayed healthy. And I think that was also a big issue was Tony Romo staying healthy for all 16 games. And towards the back half of the last couple of years of his career, that's where the issues were coming in, and that's where, again, you had to draft another QB, and Dak Prescott has stepped in nicely, and we'll see what happens in Prescott's second season. But I wish Prescott nothing but the best. But for Tony Romo, again, a good career coming out of Eastern Illinois, 14 seasons in the league. That's a pretty impressive career, and nothing at all to be ashamed about, in my opinion. So we'll take a short break, but when we come back, we have so much to talk about of the NBA playoffs. First couple of games are underway. We have some scores right now. You have Washington up on Atlanta 35-32. You have a couple games later today, and they're going to tip off in a couple minutes. You have OKC and Houston, the 3-6 matchup in the West, and as well as the Trailblazers and the Golden State Warriors. Kevin Durant might not be playing tonight, so is this an opportunity for Portland to get back in this series? So we'll talk about that, and of course predictions, as well as Isaiah Thomas. Again, a lot of a family issue over the weekend. Is that a story to talk about? And of course, we're going to talk about another Boston sports story that isn't necessarily on the good side as well. And of course, Champions League, baseball, and more to come. So, wow, 25 minutes in. We have so much more to talk about here. So here is Changing Me, Bobby Green on the Spicy Sports Show with Sam Cerrone and Tom Crane on Spreaker Radio.